Well, good morning, YouTube. It's the old soldier coming at you from the cab of my pickup truck here in Robinson County, North Carolina. Decided I just filmed from the truck this morning, seeing I get out and run some errands this morning for Mrs. Old Soldier. But just a reminder, got the hat challenge. So if you haven't done it yet, I encourage you to do your video response or your video to my patriotic / veteran / military style hat challenge. Let me see what you got and tell us a little bit about it if you find something to put on. That'd be great. But anyway, and yes, Cheryl, I finally got it done. If you go to my YouTube channel page and click the Teesprings link, you will see I made up those t-shirts with anyhow, anyway. So they are now available to be ordered. Took me long enough, I guess. But no, folks, I am sore as all get up this morning. And I ain't gonna lie, I went and took a physical assessment test for a job yesterday as a material handler. And let's just say there was a 9-minute shuffle exercise, and then followed by 1 minute of sit-ups. And needless to say, I'm woefully and pathetically out of shape. But I did get a competitive rating, so that means I'm eligible to move on to the next phase of the hiring process if there is a position available. So that's a good thing. And it more or less this be a temporary stopgap job until I get my HVAC diploma next year. All goes well, I'll start that class first semester in August. So just got to find something to hold me through the summers all. And after I finish the HVAC diploma, I don't know. I'll start to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. But they say growing up's overrated, so who knows? Maybe I'll just stay a kid. But anyway, oh man, traffic's popping down here in little old Parkton, North Carolina. When I was a kid growing up, we'd come back here to visit Mama's family. And there wasn't much to the town, really. And in a lot of senses, there still isn't, but traffic has picked up through the town. But sadly, it's also a town that's kind of dying out. We'd come and visit here, and it would just be what we look forward to doing over the summer, coming back here and seeing where Mama grew up and the old farm and everything. I mean, the 20 acres I live on was inherited from her, which, you know, was her share of what her daddy left her. So, if I could snap my fingers, though, I think I would give myself $1 million and I'd go find 300, 400, 500 acres in the middle of the Blue Ridge Mountains and put a cabin somewhere up there. Go completely and totally off grid. Live close enough to a town just so I can, you know, get the essentials, milk, bread, and that kind of thing. But also just have the ability to raise it myself. But we live in a world where we need all the high techy gadgets, it seems like. And we've lost a lot of ways of how to survive. I mean, my kids, I'm not going to say they were complaining a couple weeks ago, but they're like, Dad, it's kind of muggy in the house. And all I had done was set the air conditioning thermostat up to 77 degrees. Okay. Trying to save a penny here or there. And my mama hit the nail on the head. If our generation today lost all air conditioning capacity, she doesn't know how we would survive without conditioned air now, because she grew up in a time where, you know, air conditioners weren't. summertime, they would take a wet sheet and hang up in the window and in the doorways. And you'd leave your doors and your windows open at night and pray you got a breeze that would blow through. And as it would blow through that wet sheet, it would cool things off. She would speak of my grandmother, her mother, wrapping up at night in a wet sheet. Or a damp sheet, just to stay cool at night during the summertime. And that's just how things were done. Get in here. Yep. Having to make the trash run, so we're going to pause this for a second. And we're back recording, folks. Like I said, times have changed, folks. Times have changed. Small town America is really no more. But yeah, back to the whole keeping cool in the summertime. You know, and honestly, I don't think my mama had an electric fan until she was maybe a teenager. She never really spoke of having one in their home growing up. You just open the windows and, like I said, they'd hang a wet sheet in the window at night in order to cool things off. I can only imagine what it'd be like in the kitchen during the evening time cooking the supper meal. The heat that would have been generated down here, especially in this part of North Carolina where summers just get scorching hot. And I think one house, she mentioned one time, one house they lived in when she was a little girl had one ceiling fan in the parlor room, I think. But that was when they lived in town for a time, and their daddy, my granddaddy, was a county policeman, and he worked out of the Red Springs area in North Carolina. But yeah, my mama, I think, you know, if we lost all ability to have conditioned air, the younger folks would be hurting. I'm afraid to say they would be hurting. I whine sometimes when it gets too hot, I ain't gonna lie. But there are ways to overcome it. You figure our ancestors survived without having conditioned air, we can survive too. And then, you know, let's drop to the wintertime when it gets cold. Most homes in rural America during that time frame that my mom and daddy grew up might have had a fireplace, might have just had an old wood burning, coal burning stove, and that was what would heat the house. And so I can remember hearing stories of, so, you know, this is my daddy and his family talking about when winter would come in. When you got up out of bed, you ran to the kitchen. That was where the stove was, because the stove would be up and going, and you'd get warmed up as best you could before you had to go back to your room and put on your clothes for the day. So you tried to get warmed up just as much as you could before you had to go and change. And that was also, too, another thing. They didn't have no indoor plumbing. My mama, until she was a grown woman, the house she lived in, they had an outhouse, and that's where you went to the bathroom. They didn't put indoor plumbing in that house until their mama, my grandmother, got sick. Likewise, my daddy, you know, because my daddy kind of bounced around growing up from place to place in East Tennessee, and almost everywhere he stayed at, they all had outhouses. And for my daddy had it worse than my mama. He lost his daddy when he was but 6 years old. And it was left to his mother and an uncle. And what happened there was, my daddy had 3 siblings. So there's 4 children altogether there. Well, when my granddaddy passed away, my grandmother's brother was living in California with 5 of his children. And his wife had to be put into a mental institute. So he decided to bring his children and come back home to Tennessee. And he was going to put all his kids in the orphanage. Back then, that's what they did. But my grandmother said, nope, we'll just combine our families and raise them together. She said, we're not putting no children in no orphanage. So she raised 9 children. Tough woman. I mean, she lost all but 2 of them before she left this world. But long story short, they combined their families, and you know, it was what it was. 9 kids. There was a lot of competition for food, things like that. Resources. I mean, I remember Dad talking about you didn't bathe until Saturday night, and that consisted of getting a pail of water, a steel tub, and you filled it with hot water, and you soaked up and you rinsed off. Now, it didn't mean they didn't clean themselves throughout the week. They did, but it was more of what we term as we call a bird bath. Okay, if you've been in the military, you know what a bird bath is. All right. That's basically where you wash the essentials. I'm not trying to be gross, but you wash under your arms, you wash your private region and your rear end, and you scrub your face off real good. But it's not like taking a good hot bath or shower. Mama too had to wash outside in a wash tub or a basin, and it was not something you did daily. You just, you know, because where she grew up, the pump they had, it was a manual pump. So anything you had to pump into the house, you had to go pump by hand. Even their wash water for their dishes, you know, they used a hand pump. All is forgiven, jackass. Sorry about that word, you dirty dude. Like to pull that in front of me. I don't like to use words like that, but he just kind of, the way he was shooting out there, thought he owned the road, but he's got to stop some on his side. But yeah, that was how life was for them. And you know, I take value in that my parents were above average age for children my age, people my age. Okay? My mama was 38 and my daddy was 47 when I come into this world. The fortunate part of that was that my dad had already raised one family. And I say fortunate because there was things he had learned from that, you know, he tried to make sure that, the old adage, you know, you learn from your past experiences, and there was things he learned not to do and things he learned to do better. All in all, I had a great daddy. There was 4 of us boys. One thing that would get his goat would be that, you know, when people would go up and say, so they're half brothers, and he said, no, they're brothers. Another thing, the value of family. That was one thing with Daddy, the value of family. He didn't get it. Just because he had a wife before my mother, that didn't negate the fact that my 2 oldest brothers were my brothers. There's nothing half about it. And he would make that very clear to anybody that used that comment. It didn't set well with him. And again, that's a value I take today. But yeah, my parents had it rough growing up. And they didn't want it to befall on us growing up. As much as they could try to prevent it, they did. And in some ways that's great. In some ways maybe, you know, we're having to learn some hard lessons again. But we all want better for our children, I think. I certainly want better for mine. But the same token, I'm just not going to give them everything. I've made mistakes. God, I'll be the first one to tell you I've made mistakes. Some of them are pretty darn bad, but that's another conversation for another time. But I kind of see some of the fruition of how we've raised our children. I'm starting to see what we've done has made an impact. So, pause this thing again. I got to get some go-go juice. I'll be right back. And we're back. Just running some errands today. Like I said, had to get some gas in the truck. Had to get some gas for the lawnmower. I don't know if I'm going to try and cut grass today or not today. The ground's still a little damp. We'll see. And my back is screaming bloody murder from yesterday. Yeah. But yeah. Yeah, folks, we need to start trying getting our younger generation, I guess you could say, reacclimatized to the environment that we're around. I'm not saying throw them outside the house and put them under a tarp or a shack, but just the way some things are going, eventually we're going to run into a situation where the power of our utility grid's not going to be as reliable as it is. I mean, there's parts of the country now it's not 100% reliable at times. And a lot of it's just based on demand. You got large urban centers that keep getting larger, and when they do, they draw more power than outlying rural areas. Now, there's ways to be self-sufficient and overcome that. The thing is, some of those self-sufficient means doesn't necessarily mean it generates enough power to run your home heating and AC, so you have to go to alternative sources to do those things. But like I said, back to the heat and the cold, a modern day equivalent of hanging a sheet in your window, wet sheet in your window is, swamp coolers. But there's a company that makes them. It's not really a cooler; they're more of an evaporator. What they are. But again, you're talking about something that generate. You have to have electricity to generate power to turn the fan and run the water pump. And no, I'm not telling everybody to go saturate a bunch of bed sheets tonight and hang them up and open your windows to cool your house off. But at the same token, what do you do in a large power outage when that's happening? Cool your house off. It's just a method that you can use. Same thing with heating your home. If you don't have a wood burning fireplace, or even if you've got a gas fireplace or gas heat, even then you're still susceptible to the issue of supply. So you got to think of alternative methods, how you're going to keep your house warm in the wintertime and how you're going to keep it cool or comfortable in the summertime. And one alternative is wood burning stoves or fireplace. I'm not telling people to go out and, which way are you going here, fool? Are you turning or are you going straight, mister? No. I love it when people don't know how to use turn signals on their vehicle. Anyway. Sorry about that little bit of frustration, but some people just don't need driver's license. But no, folks, again, I'm not advocating you rip out your heating and AC system you got in your homes now. But just think of worst case situation or scenario. You're out of power and you need to keep your house warm. Okay? How are you going to do it? What method? What's your alternative method of heating your house? Your gas supplies run out. Your gas supplies cut off. If you had gas heat. Okay? Now those are some things to kind of think about. I know growing up, my dad bought a couple kerosene heaters to supplement the electric heat that we had in the house we were renting. The electric heat just wasn't always enough, it seemed like. So he bought a couple kerosene heaters, and I can remember having to go take those things out on the back porch and fill up the tanks on them, and bring them back in the house. Mama used to complain about the black soot getting on the ceiling. But then when the house was warm and she was warm, she stopped complaining. But that was one way we would do things. But just some things to think about, folks. Like I said, as these larger urban centers continue to grow in size and in population, there's going to be larger demands on energy, and as the energy is drawn into those urban centers, there may come a shortage in other places, and when that happens, that's when you start getting blackouts. Power companies all of a sudden can't meet the demand of all their customers. Now let's throw in natural disasters and man-made disasters that have an impact on that too. Last year here we had Hurricane Florence. Our house was without power for 9 days, and that was minimal compared to some other parts of Robeson County where people were out of power for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, folks, until they could get the power reestablished. Okay. Some of it being because the areas were flooded and the power trucks just couldn't get in. Others, you had to clear trees because there was a massive amount of tree fall. Back in the 90s here, we had a lot of bad ice storms that rolled through the area. And those ice storms, they did a number on power lines. One that was 97 or 98, and we were out of power for 4 days. Just because the amount of weight from the ice, and I didn't, some things I didn't know then to know now. We kept the kids wrapped up in sleeping bags and blankets, and likewise, that's how the wife and I stayed wrapped up, and we got through it. But again, at the time, really wasn't thinking alternate source of energy, because we thought, well, power, surely to God that the power company will get this power turned back on soon. 4 days later, we were all freezing. But you live and you learn. You live and you learn. Get back to the old homestead and get on the rest of the day's activities or lack thereof. Because it is Friday too, I forgot. TGIF! Thank God it is Friday. That it is. Oh yeah. Happy Father's Day early to all the fathers out there. And so folks, don't forget to wish your daddies a happy Father's Day. So don't forget to get them a card, and an Outback Steakhouse gift card, and a lifetime supply of their favorite ammunition, and what else? Lifetime membership to local gun range, and the good stuff you're supposed to get your dad on Father's Day. Hint, hint to my kids if you're watching. No, I'm just kidding. But make sure you wish your daddies a happy Father's Day if they're still here. And guess what, folks? That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be your biological daddy. It could be somebody you respect and admire and revere as a father. I've had a few of those in my life, and truly thankful for them. So, but yep, headed back to the old homestead now. Got the gas maline, got the trash taken off. What else? Yeah. talked about some good things about how life used to be and what we probably need to do in order to kind of prepare for that and inevitability coming back someday. But yeah, there's ways to circumvent, if you will, a particular power loss, or at least have backup power sources until main power can be reestablished, folks. Like I said, if I had the money, I'd go completely off grid right now. And I'd find alternate sources and means of heating and cooling my house besides the standard method that most people use now. There's some new thoughts out there. The problem is where I live, going underground is not really an option because we're so close to the water table. But there's other methods that I think need to be looked at that can be done to cool a home. And anyway, and yes, Cheryl, like I said, I got that finally on a t-shirt. So they are available to be ordered. The gnats are out. But there we go. Get them down here. See what else is going on at the old homestead. What kind of honey-do list Ms. Old Soldier's got for me today. Now, folks, I appreciate you taking the time to be with me today, watching my videos. Don't forget the hat challenge. Remember the charities I'd ask you to support: Valor for Veterans, Pinup for Vets, and TunnelsToTowers.org. Vendors I'd ask you to support: Money Quick Pawn on Rayford Road in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area if you're here. I'm sure y'all really want to see the gear shifter in your face. Robert's Custom Woodworks, Unsung Patriot, and as always, help me out. Get a few of my t-shirts, a couple of my books. All the links will be down below in the description. God bless each and every one of you. Y'all have a great Father's Day weekend. If you don't know Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior, I would encourage you to take him as such. That way you can know your Heavenly Father as well. Well, folks, until tomorrow's video, God bless. Take care. The Old Soldier out.